Obviously, I'll start by saying I know there's a lot of different news coming out of LA with all the fires and stuff like that. I know you guys are kind of local to the area, so I'm glad you guys are okay. And anybody else who's dealing with anything, prayers out to you and your families. I know it's been kind of a long week for you guys. But yeah, I wanted to start with that. And for me, I'm doing good. It feels good to talk like Lakers basketball. We haven't had many games this week, so getting kind of back into I'll say our playoff shape. I feel a little bit rusty, not gonna lie, but I'm excited to talk basketball. We have some fun news to talk about today, revolving around some of our players on our team. But yeah, I'm excited.
Can you guys hear me? Hey guys, I'm Jake. I'm also on the podcast if you're new here. Fun podcast. Thank you, Alan and Earl, for making this podcast, and Alex, wherever she may be. Shout out you guys. I live in LA. I haven't really talked. I guess we didn't talk about this yet on stream. I'm from closer to LA, but I moved out far. I'm by Malibu now, so definitely the Palisades fire was a factor. There was another fire in our area where we had to evacuate temporarily. Anyway, I'm good. The house is good. I'm in a rental house these days anyway, but the house is good. Family's good. Definitely rough for LA, mostly the Palisades. And then I forgot how to pronounce it, Altadena or something like that with the Eden fire. Hard times for the city, but we rebuild, and people here are used to fires, as crazy as that sounds. So for the rest of the country, it being like a new thing, and you see all this and you're concerned, I think you should be concerned, but I will say like LA people are resilient with fires and earthquakes and such. So yeah, shout out LA, shout out PlayoffLAL. We're back for another show, and it seems like it got announced that the Lakers are back tomorrow as well, which is great.
Yes, indeed. At least, like I mentioned, moving forward, the Lakers do resume Monday versus the Spurs. I imagine it'll be a highly anticipated and great matchup. Also, a win would also possibly boost the morality of Laker fans and fans out there in Los Angeles as well. So, yeah, shout out to them. And these for you guys. What are your thoughts about the Lakers? Come off these last two games versus the Rockets and Mavs were disappointing games and disappointing losses, you could say, and just how can this team bounce back after those two losses on the road and now heading home and playing the Spurs, who are relatively playing good from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I could start, Earl, if you want. I mean, I think, as crazy as it sounds, like with the fires and now missing 2 games here, I do kind of feel like it's not what the Lakers need circumstances wise, but getting more time off would help a Lakers team, especially that relies on 2 veterans that we all know. And I think after that, the Mavs game was horrible. The Rockets game I was okay with. It was a loss, but it was a loss to one of the best teams, the Rockets, at least in the regular season. Hold on, Mal. What are you drinking with that? Is that coffee and spaghetti? Because I could rock with the pasta part, but what about the spaghetti or the coffee? I feel like coffee doesn't go with that. Anyway, back to the topic. I do think the Lakers will bounce back after getting some time off and then just the real life stuff happening. However, when tragedy has struck the Lakers in the past, they're actually very not good at basketball after, and they seem very distracted, which, obviously I completely understand with Kobe in that situation. Just other times too, where like something happened in real life. LeBron is more worried about real life because he's mature. He's not someone like Anthony Edwards. I wouldn't worry about Anthony Edwards coming back after something crazy happens. He's always got that energy and he's young, but LeBron has built so much here, and like when something goes wrong, I do think he could come out a little flat. We'll see, because the Spurs the opposite of that, the Spurs are a very young, energetic team, besides CP, obviously. So we'll see if we can keep up with them. But I'm sure that the Lakers will be all right in a couple of days and ready to kind of keep going here until the trade deadline and All-Star break.
You know, after taking this little break, it almost made me forget what we did. I lost to the Mickey Mouse Mavericks with no Kate. I almost say Katie, no Kyrie, no Luca. The Rockets game was just a heartbreaker. Way too many turnovers, loose plays. Defense wasn't really there. Jalen Green, magnet ball. Yeah, I think going into this game, I'm excited. Like you said, guys have things to play for. Not saying like I don't wish this on anybody, but it's kind of like a way for them to get back on the court. We have guys who, like Jake said, veterans on this team who need extra rest and extra time to get healthy. Biggest person I'm thinking about is Anthony Davis. We know he has a lingering injury, so any extra rest he can get, especially on nights where it won't cost us games or losses or anything like that, is huge for this team. LeBron James, I mean, he has moments where a lot of games where he's questionable for games and he's like game time decisions at times. So it's good he got some extra rest as well. And obviously, which we'll talk about later, my guy Vando Lando may be closer than we thought to returning, which is cool. Well, not really closer than we thought. I think his looking at the chat. I think that his expected return was around mid-January, which we're kind of getting close to or at right now. So I guess for once the Lakers timeline was correct, which we're not used to as far as like medical history with us in recent years. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it will be fun. Like win, lose, or draw, I'm excited to watch a good game of basketball. And we're playing the Spurs. One of my favorite matchups so far in this like era of NBA right now was AD versus Wemby. Pretty much every time they play, it's a really good game. So I'm excited to see what they do. And of course, it's LeBron as well. But I like that matchup a lot. Like Wemby, he's kind of forced to play a little bit more versus a physical guy in Anthony Davis. And AD usually has good games versus Wemby as well. So I think it's a great game to come back to. And I expect guys to be ready to show out at home too. So excited for this game. Looking forward to it.
I think you made a lot of really good points. I'll just add quickly. First of all, thank you so much, Earl, for your thoughts being formulated like that, because you laid it all out really well. But I think you're right that the Lakers-Spurs games, if you really think about it, have been very good games for about at least the last 2 years. So like at least Wembanyama coming in. I feel like Anthony Davis versus Wemby has always been good. And I feel like LeBron versus Wemby has also always been good. So I would look forward to Lakers-Spurs game anytime we get it. And it is very competitive. It's two sides of – this is kind of sad to say. I'm not trying to be negative about the Lakers, but it's two sides of being slightly above mid. They are just now getting slightly above average, and we're going down from 2020 and 2021. Not to be negative, but they're like the young version of that. We're like the old, and it kind of balances out in this era, so it'll be fun. And yeah, I think the other thing was, I didn't know you were talking like Westbrook. You were like win, lose, or draw. It made me think, do you think Westbrook thought that drawing was an option, or was he just saying, I mean, he's probably just saying it because that's the phrase. I'm not trying to hate, but maybe he really thought it was possible to draw. I wouldn't be surprised.
You know, it's funny because I was like watching like the very end of the game with Mile. And Russ got like a crazy like standing block. And I made a joke. I was like, maybe we were the problem. Because like he had like 20 something, 7 rebounds, something like another great game from Russ again. After coming up with triple double. He's been playing great basketball. And it's like, I mean, I still truly believe, we all talked about this for a while. And I know it's not really what we're talking about. I just don't think it ever was the right fit. Like Russ should have just never been traded to Lakers. Like partially that was between Russ and LeBron and them thinking it could work out. But I feel like their gameplay is a little bit too similar, and we just didn't have shooters on that team. People don't realize, like, we didn't have the spacing necessary to run a LeBron James and Russell Westbrook offense, I feel like. So I'm happy he's doing it. And AD, you're right, and AD. It just wasn't going to work out. So, yeah, Shout out to Russ. With that, I did kind of, I guess, indirectly steal that line from Russ, which is hilarious.
Well, I mean, AD's shooting had declined by the time Russ got there, so the spacing was always. Not only that, I remember when I ran into Frank Vogel. I think I told you guys I met him at some charity thing. I told him to start THT, which really showed what I knew about spacing because it would have been Russ, THT, LeBron, AD, and Marcus Saul or whoever was after that. Maybe Damian Jones. I don't even know, but. Yeah, that was always going to be a mess. The other thing, though, not to talk about Russ too much, but I'm kind of realizing this. Like, it's not that we were the problem, but I do stand by what Kobe used to say that some people can't handle being Lakers. And as sad as it was, like an LA native, UCLA, he actually has proven that he can't handle the spotlight with his best years being in the smaller market teams. Oklahoma City, Denver, Houston, Washington Wizards, and even Wizards was shaky, and that's kind of a bigger market. So he kind of like has this weird trend of being good when the spotlight isn't on him. And I think that's why he had problems with the Clippers at the end and the Lakers for sure. But yeah, let's move the TF on from Russell Westbrook. My bad.
All right, good. Shout out to Russ. Like I said, he's performing good for Denver, but hopefully he could have performed better for the Lakers. But yeah, it is what it is. You guys said didn't fit with us, and of course, speaking of fit, sort of a narrative. For the Spurs, they were on a 3-game losing streak, so they definitely want to win versus Los Angeles. Obviously, like I said, the key point is AD versus Wemby. But like I said, there's other Spurs on that roster besides Wemby. Who is at least the matchup you guys are looking forward to, or at least Laker fans should be concerned or worried about potentially?
Devin Vassell, he's finding his flow. I've been watching a lot more Spurs games. He's back in the starting lineup. He's getting a lot more comfortable with his mid-range game again. Defense is back. Rebounding is back. So that's one guy I feel like last time we played him, he wasn't there. Like he was just coming off an injury, wasn't fully healthy. His shot selection wasn't there yet, but now he's kind of getting back into his takeover mode. So that's one guy I'm a little bit more worried about. But if we did have one person come back from injury, that would be huge. I don't expect him to play tomorrow. Obviously, that's not happening. But to answer your question, start off this conversation, I'm going to say Devin Vassell is my dude to kind of watch out for sure.
Well, so I had the same answer. I know Mal did in the chat, but I interpreted his question different of matchup. So I would definitely like to add that I think it's kind of Vassell versus Reeves. Now, on the surface, it feels like a weird comparison, but they actually are kind of similar players with how they score, in my opinion, from watching Vassell. Now, you could say they're very different, like playmaking. I'm not sure Vassell's defense. I think he's a lot better than Reeves, but like how they score is similar, and I do feel like they're similar height too. And obviously Reeves is as white as paper, and that that leads to comparisons with like other guys like Gordon Hayward or something. But yeah, the other thing, like just to add to what Mal said, the problem is with that matchup is I think Vassell can always guard Reeves, but I don't feel like Reeves can guard Vassell. And that's kind of why Mal said like generational barbecue, because like, who would we put on Vassell? And it's kind of what Earl said. Like, without Vando coming back tomorrow, I don't know who you would put on him. But yeah, the last time we saw him, he was like,
you forgot, Jay?
Bench. What's up?
Remember, we have our weapon now. I forgot about him. It's been too long.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did forget. I'm dumb. I did forget about that trade. I'm not going to lie. If we kept talking, I would start talking about what D'Lo needs to do better next game. I'm not even going to lie. That's what it feels like after these fires and this break. So, yeah, I think D'Lo really got to lock in on the defensive end. I'm so glad we don't have to worry about that anymore, man. D'Lo and Russ had a similar personality, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, like the matchup looking forward to would be like guys like Stephen Castle, even like Julian Champagny. Like those are energy guys and guys I look at matchup like Max Christie versus Stephen Castle, like I said, DFS versus Champagny. Like those are at least the second unit or the middleman guys who will play the key rotation minutes within the middle of the quarters that I'm looking forward to and see who steps up. Like I said, Spurs have a quality roster. They don't have the best roster, but they have a quality, roster and unit to get leads versus the Lakers. And just like Victor's going to do what Victor's going to. Like he could get like those like 20 and 10 by the second quarter, but everyone around them has to play their role. And if the Lakers do stop them, and like I said, AD and LeBron do their thing, hopefully combine by at least 40 plus near the end of the third quarter, then the Lakers could successfully beat San Antonio. But like I said, their unit and young guys are no joke versus our Lakers roster.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I almost forgot one player we're forgetting about. I know it's kind of crazy to say this name in 2025, but Harrison Barnes shooting 40% from three on 4 attempts a game. That's one of those guys where I can see LeBron maybe not closing out on the corner like 3 or 4 times, him getting the easy 2 looks and then getting hot. I don't remember what he had last game, but that's something I worry about a little bit. But overall, I'm kind of excited just to see how things match up. I like that Devin Vassell also. Okay, this is my thought process. I think Devin Vassell is like, if Austin Reeves could play defense, that's the best way I can probably put it.
I agree.
I think they have similar gameplay. Devin doesn't really he's not super athletic, but he's athletic enough. So I think that's literally the biggest difference. Like if Austin Reeves could play defense, I think his comp would be Devin Vassell, like easily. So I'm excited to see what that matchup looks like too.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's what I was going for. But yeah, when we're talking about other Spurs players, just to stay on topic more, like I forgot about Castle until Alan said it. Maybe I'm just out of it these days, but him being a rookie, it's like you don't always factor in rookies into a matchup unless it's a Wemby type rookie or like if it was LeBron James on the Cavs. So when for example, if we play the Hawks, we're probably not talking about Ricochet, and he was the number 1 pick. So I guess that's just how it is in a weaker draft class. However, Castle is on track with what other number 4 picks should be doing, in my opinion. Like Castle is very much a great scorer. He tries, he hustles, he's athletic as hell for a guard. I think he's a lead guard, but he was like a shooting guard in college. So they have to figure out what to do with that after Chris Paul. Maybe they get a Fox and put him next to Castle. But the Lakers don't have anyone to guard Castle, and it doesn't feel like too big of a deal because he is a rookie. But we'll see it tomorrow. Like you guys said, put Dorian Finney-Smith on Devin Vassell or something. Well, Austin or Gabe or Shake Milton, if he came in, is going to have to guard Castle when Castle comes in. And that's not going to work. And it kind of shows you why the Lakers still need ideally a 2-way, but like defensive guard. And then also obviously on top of the center stuff we've talked about. But if AD was in matching Wemby's minutes, I wouldn't complain that we don't have another center to get like, who is it? Zach Collins these days or whoever it is. So it's actually a very winnable matchup. Because when we play the Cavs and there's Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley and you just have AD and Jackson Hayes, you're fucked. There's no other way around it. That's where you need a center. But I would say even against Wemby, you don't. This is where you're going to need more defense than we actually have, especially to handle young, athletic, scoring guards.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that kind of worries me a little bit. Like, I don't know if we have enough to match that type of pace. Obviously, we have Max Christie, Cam Reddish. He's an option as well. And then I'm trying to think about who else. I mean, besides like on-ball defenders we have right now, those are pretty much the 2 guys. Obviously DFS. My fault. I forgot to, even though I just reminded you. DFS as well. So I don't know what that big rotation is going to look like, man. I don't know what it's going to look like tomorrow. So that kind of worries me a little bit. Jackson Hayes is a cone. I know it's been a week. Still can't forget the horrible stuff he's done on the court. Not even to mention his off-court resume is absolutely blasphemous as well. But he looked horrible. I will never forget him having 1 rebound in a game last week. Wasn't it versus the Rockets? 1 rebound. Come on, bro. I can go out there and accidentally get 1 rebound. Come on, brother.
Didn't he make like 10 mistakes in the third and fourth quarter that when we were watching, we were like, oh, we actually might lose this game because of Jackson Hayes? I forgot if that was the Mavs or the Rockets. But I remember like when he was out, and we should talk about this because we're a Lakers show. What's up, Chewy? What's up, Chewy? Came in the chat. Since we're a Lakers show, though, like, why did everyone get so excited when Jackson Hayes came back? I saw that on Twitter, at least. I don't know about in our community, but on Twitter, like, why would we want Jackson Hayes to come back? Like, you weren't watching the same Koloko that I was watching. Those are the two things. There's outside of basketball reasons, as in we don't need to really like talk around it. He probably hit a woman in the face, Jackson Hayes, not Koloko. Sorry, Koloko. And then on the court, Koloko was more productive. I'm not saying he didn't make any mistakes. He's young. He's what they would use the word raw because he hadn't been on the court too much. And then he got the blood clot. And then he's a two-way for us. But I thought Koloko is better than Jackson Hayes, in my opinion, the whole time. And then I feel like right when Koloko started to really prove it night to night, he got pulled because he can only play a certain number of two-way games in the NBA as a two-way player. And I feel like that was disappointing for me. It's a minor thing, but I don't want to watch Jackson Hayes play basketball. I'd be okay with Christian Wood playing basketball, backup 4-5, but I don't want to watch Jackson Hayes. So I don't know why people got excited that he came back and took over for Koloko when he can't even do his job. Jackson Hayes he would be an okay third string center. He's the worst backup center in the NBA, in my opinion.
Yeah, as well as for Earl, including some highlights of Jonas Valanciunas, who could be a potential trade target. I think for Jackson Hayes, like, I just really want to move on for him. Like I said, he has some stuff personally that you might not like him, but on the court, he's just not that great. Like defensively, he can get you a block here and there, play some decent minutes when he does play good. But I just want to move on from him and then just promote Christian Koloko up to the Lakers roster. Right? Like I think Koloko is better than Jackson Hayes, and you can say the reason why Koloko is not even playing for the Lakers right now is due to he's on a two-way contract. So that means he's limited to the amount of games he could play on the official Lakers roster, and like I said, he has to go back and forth between LA and of course the G League. So it's a situation where the Lakers might have to find out. Please move on from Jackson Hayes, and when they do eventually get that center upgrade, or hopefully they do, I think that Koloko would be a good backup to East Ward when we do get that, or hopefully get that backup center.
Yeah, because like Koloko is a good center to have after Jonas Valanciunas or wherever Walker Kessler fits in or whoever else, because third string Koloko makes sense with like where he's at now. And if there's an injury and you need someone, but I don't even feel that way about Jackson Hayes. Like if we got to the playoffs and you have to stagger AD's minutes and you're playing another guy like a Jokic or even like a Şengün, and Jackson Hayes has to guard that person for 3 minutes, do you know what the result of that will be? I'll say that again. Do you know what the result will be?
Chicken.
No, not just that, Earl. I'm looking at it like the result of that is what we saw the last 2 playoffs and why everyone wanted a center, which means that the GM isn't understanding at all because now you go into a third playoffs with Jackson Hayes to let him get murdered by the league's top centers, including Chet if he comes back, even Hardenstein, Şengün, Jaren Jackson is up there. Edey would kill Jackson Hayes. Who else did I not say yet? Y'all get the point. All the top teams, like they're going to have great centers who are going to kill Jackson Hayes. So Rob Pelinka, even though he got Dorian Finney-Smith, the whole thing would still be a failure if he doesn't figure out a center that actually can help us in the playoffs here. And it's not just about stats. Like the stats look bad that you dropped in the chat, but the eye test for Jackson Hayes is worse than any other player who's been on the Lakers for a few years now, I would say.
Look, guys, I'm spreading propaganda in the chat. People talking about upgrades, man. This is I get it. Jonas Valanciunas is not like Superman. He's not Karl Anthony Towns. He's not Walker Kessler. I get it. I know. But man, when you compare them, like put it side by side, look at Jackson Hayes. Like I know it's not all about stats, but eye test too, as Jake said. But look at the stats, man. Jackson Hayes, 5 points a game, 4 rebounds a game. And he's not even hitting that 4 quota. He just had to have one game where he probably had 10 plus and it's like balancing out his stats. His quota should really be like around 1.5 to 2 rebounds a game. That's how bad he is on the glass. Even Valanciunas, man, he's had times where he hasn't even really played like that. He's playing what? 19.9 minutes a game. So slightly more than Jackson Hayes. He's putting up 11.8. He's putting up 8.1 rebounds. He's even throwing a half a block in there. Half a block. I know for the old man, that's not bad. And he's had multiple block games where he had like 2 to 3, which is impressive. We need another big on this roster who's actually usable, who understands the game of basketball. And not only that, you have Valanciunas, who's also a veteran, another NBA veteran who understands the game, who knows how to play, who can play. I feel like even in those lineups where you have AD taking a rest, you can throw him out there with LeBron. We know Valanciunas has the ability to hit those mid-ranges as well. So he's not someone who's just going to sit in the paint and clog it up. But when he gets his back down to that basket, there's only probably 2 or 3 centers on earth who can stop that man from getting to the paint. And one of them is probably himself. That's how strong he is. Other person is probably Steven Adams because he's a tank too. But Jonas Valanciunas, man, I would love him on the team. I know a lot of people here aren't sold on him, but that's an upgrade. I don't care what anybody says. That is an upgrade that we need.
Yeah, and the way I'm going to continue to view it is like, if you can't get Walker Kessler, though, like if the Jazz won't trade him and you can't get Miles Turner, then why would you not want Valanciunas over Hayes? Like it should be Valanciunas compared to Hayes, like how Earl laid it out. But I also think like he's not as old as people think. He's 32, which isn't that bad. That's a veteran, but it's nothing crazy. And the other thing is like, it's not like he's the long-term solution. No one's saying that. But a center who's reliable, who could get us through the year would help. And at least if we play Denver in the fucking playoffs, we'll have Valanciunas to throw at Jokic, and we can live with that because he's one of the only true big body bruising bigs, which the Lakers claim to want. Not athletic, but he's definitely bruising. The other thing is, man, I just, the games I've seen him play, at least the eye test looks so much better. Again, I mentioned eye test with Hayes looks so much better than Hayes that I can't see a world where Jonas doesn't elevate playing with LeBron and AD versus being on a tanking team. So his stats will decrease. That's what will happen because he's not on the Wizards, like how Dorian's stats would decrease coming to the Lakers. But that's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for Jonas to have crazy stats on our team. We're looking for the impact and the little things and help with rebounding, help with having a big body under the rim, and I think he can give that. Final thing, also shout out to the whole playoff family because we do have 3 streams. We got going right now. We got our Orlando Magic room is streaming Magic Sixers. Then there's the Celtics game on Playoff BOS. And then we got our podcast here. Mal's going to do more later here. I'm going to hop on with him. Big day for the playoff family and more news coming soon.
Yes, indeed. And of course, if you're a new viewer or is a new person watching this or has joined our PlayoffLAL network / channel, feel free to, like I said, follow the PlayoffLAL Orlando, the PlayoffLAL Celtics, and of course, as Jake mentioned, we'll have some news in the future regarding another team that potentially may join us in the future. So yeah, and as always as well, if like I said, if you're new, have any hot takes, questions, or anything regarding the Lakers, your opinions, your thoughts, maybe some trade ideas, feel free to drop them below in this chat. and we always prioritize that. And like I said, we'll respond and we'll give our opinions as where it could be different or it could be similar, you could say. So, like I said, we always prioritize opinions and hot takes from our audiences who watch this podcast. At least moving forward, I mentioned, at least for a podcast, not podcast, that question about the Lakers hole within the center. I don't know if you guys saw a rumor of Nick Richards potentially to Phoenix. I know it was per that Evan guy who, like I said, is not really a valuable source, but I would bring some concern to Los Angeles just because I know Nick Richards is a talented player and definitely him to Phoenix would benefit. I know Nurkic, he would be on the way, potentially going to Charlotte. He could be bought out. What you guys had thoughts on that potential trade if that were to happen? And if Nurkic were to be bought out, would you be signed or maybe consider you could use that Nurkic if he does get bought out by Charlotte?
Well, I don't think he could go to Charlotte because Nick Richards makes way less money, right? Or did he ever get one of those contracts?
It will have to be a bigger package, yes.
So it would have to be like, but then why would Charlotte take a Nurkic and get off of a valuable young center? What are the Suns giving? Like a first? I don't understand. Because it'll just be hard to get off Nurkic, in my opinion. That's kind of my point. I did see another thing, though, Alan. And kind of reminded me, like, I was pretty mad that the Suns got Tyus Jones this summer because I still think that's, like, the perfect kind of backup point guard for us. So, like, imagine no Gabe, but we have Tyus. So I'd be really mad if they got Nick Richards, too, if we didn't get, like, again, I hate to keep saying this, but Walker Kessler, Miles Turner, someone like that, because then I feel like Nick Richards makes sense. Now, I will say, like, I don't know if that report came from the guy who we won't mention, fake reporter, but I did see, I thought, real reporters saying it too, for either on the Suns or Hornets side. So I do think it's very real interest, and I do think it'll hurt a little if we don't get one of these better young centers, if they get him, and then we end up with nothing. Trevor Lane, whose opinion I always like, was talking about that. But he also said Lakers really could have used Spencer Dinwiddie this season. And I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest. Like, I always normally agree with this guy, Trevor, but I don't really understand that take, to be honest, especially because Gabe actually does play some defense and then Dinwiddie doesn't play defense. I just don't think that makes any sense. What are you going to do? Run Dinwiddie and Gabe and Austin in the same lineup again? Like, why would we want that? I just don't get that one. But I just wanted to bring that up quick. Earl, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, like, the Nick Richards stuff.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I've been pretty honest. Not the biggest Nick Richards, like, oh, he fixes everything type of guy. I honestly don't. I wouldn't care if we lost out on Nick Richards and got Valanciunas. I'd be happy. I feel like Nick Richards, he's good, but I think he's just capped out at what he's gonna be. And for this team, I think we can use the physicality of Jonas Valanciunas. He's a lot more experienced, in my opinion, and I think he'll probably fit a little bit better. I know we happen to turn on games where he had a decent performance or two. When you break down the numbers, I've been watching Hornets games a lot. There's a reason why he got his spot snatched once Mark Williams came back, because there's levels to this. Like, Nick Richards is playing, over 21 minutes a game, something like that. And he's all right. Like, he's not like anything I'm like gonna be sad about if we don't get him, if that makes sense. I don't value him as much as other people do. Like, I think for me, I was gonna say something crazy, but I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna leave that hot take for a different day. But personally, if he got picked up by the Suns, I don't think I would really care as much. I think he fits their team. They need kind of a younger upgrade, someone who plays a little bit better defense than Nurkic. If that makes sense for them, it makes sense. I also see why it makes sense for Charlotte. I think for their case, they want an experienced veteran center to pair with their better younger center. I think it makes a lot of sense to make that deal. I think the only way you make it happen, you will have to probably attach Grant Williams, which seems kind of crazy considering he got hurt. I don't know. I don't see the Suns doing that. If I'm being honest, I don't even. Yeah, because Nick Richards, I'm pretty sure he makes like around like 5+ million, something like that. And Nurkic is on like what, 15, 17, something like that. So something else would have to be added in. But it makes sense for Charlotte to want more of a veteran guard, even if he hasn't had the best season.
And Earl, the final thing on that, I think you had a really good take because I think people do misunderstand Nick Richards. I think maybe they think he's more in the Walker Kessler tier, like some Lakers fans. Even though I do like the idea of him, he's not the savior. And I also think like we can't really go back to the Nets, but Day'Ron Sharpe would be better, in my opinion, than Nick Richards. Just he's an unreal rebounder. He might be the best rebounder in the NBA. Shout out Chewy for the donation. Playoff Network rise. Now we're at 4 teams, or about to officially announce 4 teams on here. Everyone's streaming right now. Good luck with your guys' game, Chewy. The other thing I sent in the chat, what is kind of breaking down, this is a tweet of what we were referring to with this guy, Evan. There's buzz building around the Grizzlies becoming a strong trade suitor for Cam Johnson. Memphis has the needed draft capital. After inquiring about Jimmy, Memphis appears ready to make a move. So you can understand why, for someone who it says in his bio that he's a reporter for Forbes, this doesn't quite feel like a report. Because and trust me, I know about fake reports. Do I have stories to tell you guys about what I've done on some of my old Twitter accounts? Trust me, I know. But you can't make a report that you just changed the wording from 10 other reports recently, didn't add anything of value, didn't put a source, and then it's so broad that you just get away with it. And that's essentially every one of this guy's tweets. So, yeah, that's kind of what we were referring to there. But let's move on. I know we got a little bit of time constraints today. What's up, Boston Sports Hub on X? What's going on? Go check out Playoff Boss, everyone. I'll put it in the chat again.
Yes, sir. Playoff Network. Rise up. Shout out to Chewy in the chat. Always a GOAT. Make sure you follow that page. I'll link it in just a minute in the chat if we don't have it there already. But follow up on the network, man.
Celtics Hangout.
Yes, indeed. So if you haven't followed them, follow them now. And yeah, let's move forward to one of our topics for today is reportedly is a imminent, at least quote unquote, imminent return for Jared Vanderbilt to the Los Angeles Lakers. From JJ he spoke about Jared Vanderbilt's progress after a practice on Friday. He said that Jared was able to get 2 of the last days some live action with our South Bay team, which I think really good for him. We want to get him more exposure to live play against professionals before we sort of set a target date, but it is imminent that he'll be back with us next hopefully a few weeks. But again, I think no setbacks, a lot of progress. The condition anyways who has played a sport and has been injured for an extended period of time, there's the confidence that you have to build in your body, and he's getting there each time we've exposed him to play. It's better and better, so he's close. So very much positive words, and exciting to see that one of our demons, Jared Vanderbilt, will hopefully be back. At least for you, Earl, what are your thoughts on this news and Jared Vanderbilt reportedly making his imminent return? Now we got to hold our expectations because we've been hurt a little bit by a couple newses in the past, but from so far it seems positive.
Man, shout out to Vando, man. If there's one thing I know in this world, I wake up, shout out to God. He always gonna provide, and Vando is back. Thank the Lord. It's been 2 years. He's been in rehab. We've heard all the reports. We've heard read all the articles. We've seen all the setbacks week after week, month after month. day after day, year after year, waiting for Vando to return, and he is finally one step closer. This is the most positive Vando news we've gotten in the last year and a half. Like, this is the first time I've seen him progress and play fives. First time he goes down to South Bay and gets a run in with the Mickey Mouse squad, respectfully. No hate. It's just our younger brother team. That's all. But he's back, man. I'm super excited to see how well he does in his first progress on 5v5s. As the article says, he's progressing well. They want to see how his body feels, which makes sense. He hasn't played in 2 years. He definitely needs time for his body to fully adjust and get back to game shape. My one thing is, don't rush it, man. We're at the pinnacle. Don't rush it. Let him take his time. If it takes to the end of this month, let it be. I think realistically, I had an idea of Vando I thought we would be a little bit. Well, I think we're in a good place with everything that's happened so far. New coach, minimal roster moves. I think we can all agree we're in a decent spot. But my idea was Vando coming back. My dream situation was we're in like the 5th seed situation. Vando comes back kind of mid-February, and we kind of make that big push. So mentally, we're a little bit ahead of schedule for me. So I'm excited. Vando coming back is huge for this team. Just, bro, DFS, Vando, Max Christie progression. We got Anthony Davis, bro. The defensive lineups that JJ Redick's going to have to play with, man. I can't even imagine. So this just tells Rob Pelinka, man, get Jackson Hayes off my team. Gabe Vincent, I know he's been playing okay. He can go. After that shot, that crazy back of the backboard shot he shot last night in the last game we played, trade him respectfully, and let's just work with what we got in house and make a move for a center. Bring me Valanciunas, and I think this team looks a whole lot better. So I'm excited. Shout out to Vando, and I'm glad he's healthy.
For most NBA players, they have their injury histories online. I just looked into it for Vanderbilt. I was able to cross-reference the dates. Vanderbilt had no significant injuries before he came to the Lakers. Then in the first year on the Lakers, half year, I don't think he had any significant injuries either after getting traded here. Then last year, so 23-24, he had a heel injury that kept him out for a while, then a back injury, and then it went back to heel, and then it ended up being foot, and foot was when we played the Celtics, and that escalated into a year of kind of injuries and nonsense. It's going to be almost a full year since we saw him on the court. Now, the reason I mentioned all that is because when you look at Vando, like when we traded for him, injuries was not something I expected because he seems like a very durable player. He's actually got a very good build for the NBA. He's like 6'9", 6'10". Yes, he's pretty thin, but he didn't have a history of like problems with being thin. And I felt like he's always on the court, whether it was the Jazz or the Timberwolves at the times. I think those were his other 2 teams. He was always on the court when I watched the games, so I didn't expect any injury. But now I want to caution people and add to the discussion about him that if you expect him to come in, let's say like next week he comes back and like save something, you're wrong. Now, the Lakers fans have hyped him up like this is like Jesus Christ coming back. And there's 2 sides to that. I think in one way they're kind of right that his defense is that good. He did guard Ja Morant to the level we needed to move on in the playoffs, or a Steph Curry at times. We've seen in the regular season a billion times, whether it was like Luka or Kyrie or whoever it is. He can guard everyone. He can rebound. I understand that. I think he's key for the Lakers team. I don't think Rob is off the mark thinking that he's key to evaluate the rotation, because I do think he is. And he's in the top 7, of a rotation for a playoff team. That's all good. I completely understand that. But the reason why I say is he's not going to change anything right away is because when he had those smaller injuries last year, before the big injury, and he came back, he took a long time, whether it was easing him in, whether it was bringing the minutes up game by game. And it felt like if he's not 100% healthy, he can't do the little things and the things that we needed from him on the defensive end. So I would caution people and say you need to give it 2 more weeks after he comes back, just so he could have some sort of normal minutes and his normal athleticism and burst and ability to move side to side. When you're dealing with a foot injury or leg injury, he needs to be able to move the way that he does when he's healthy so that he can guard everyone to the level we expect. So you need to give it time. And we saw that. Basically what I'm saying is we saw that in last season in the middle of his 2 injuries, how it took some time and then he was back to himself. So don't expect anything crazy, but I am happy, obviously, he's coming back soon. And I would still personally not trade Vando. Let's say he's healthy the rest of the year. I would not trade Vando. I would much rather trade Rui because of what we need. Even though Rui has been reliable and a good scorer and a good shooter, what we need with that defense Vando brings, you can't find another Vando. No one's ever said the Lakers can acquire this year with trade rumors. They haven't said you're getting someone like Vando. You're probably not. It's very hard to find. Even getting DFS, who's a 2-way player, was very rare, and that's hard to pull off, especially without a first. And DFS was the one guy that every team wanted. That was like a 2-way wing. So I would not trade Jared Vanderbilt, and that'll be a conversation we have later. I think the trade deadline now is probably in about 3 weeks, maybe still closer to 4, but early next month. I think it was, February 6th. So it's probably like 3 weeks. Do not trade Vando if he can really be healthy for us the rest of the year. We're going to need him, especially if we make the playoffs.
I agree, man. If you trade Vando off my team, Rob, nah, I'm not. I usually would say I'm playing right now, but I'm not. Please don't trade Vando. And one like random thing, I guess it's not really that random. Where's Christian Wood? I mean, I see him on the bench. I have not got it. Can somebody check? When's the last time we got a Christian Wood health update? I'm gonna say minimum 2 months since I've heard Christian Wood's name from the medical staff. Maybe not 2 months. Maybe it's like a month. I don't know. But yeah, I'll swing it back to you, Alan. But I agree with everything what Jake said. Don't trade Vando. And it's gonna take him a little bit of time to get back to shape.
I'll say this, of course, it's not a shot at Christian Wood, but the only update you need to know about Christian Wood is that whenever he tweets, "Hey, I think I'm feeling ready. I'm excited to get back on the court." A report occurs after. So let's just say if there isn't a self-report by Christian Wood, then there won't be a report, you could say, because of his health status. But like I said, I think Vando is someone that you have to ease. I wouldn't consider trading him as well unless you can find an immediate trade package for him, like how the Warriors was it like they traded, wasn't it like was it Anthony Melton, right? They traded him for the shooter. So like if you could find something similar to that where you could find an immediate upgrade, I would consider it. But I don't think there's many upgrades from a Vando, just because he's such a diverse player and someone who has a skill set that's not easy to find in today's NBA.
Yeah, like there's barely any Vandos. And if you looked at like a Jaden McDaniels who's similar on defense, he costs like a max contract pretty much, or whatever it was. It was at least between 20 and 30. Here's a Christian Wood tweet from May 3rd when our season ended against the Nuggets. Loved my first year playing for my hometown team. First of all, I had no idea that the Lakers are his hometown team. I guess no one put that together. I wish I wasn't hurt majority of the season. But all in all, it was a dream come true. I will be better and 100% healthy next season. So far, we don't have an update on Christian Wood's health. Then, Christian Wood on July 8th in the middle of the summer. The comeback going to be elite. Didn't tweet again. 2 months later. Damn, I was just feeling like my old self and was in peak shape. I feel bad saying this. Minor setback for a major comeback. Don't stop believing in me to my fans. And then that was it. I don't know if you can categorize a minor setback as missing half the season after you were injured most of last season. However, I do root for him. And I'll be honest, like I was one of the people, was that a year and a half ago, who was pretty excited when we signed Christian Wood for, I want to say it was the minimum. We only had like maybe one roster spot left. He took a long time in free agency in that summer, chose to come to the Lakers. I thought we got a steal. I liked how he played in Houston a lot more than Dallas. He still did things in Dallas, but I liked Houston Wood more. I thought on the Bucks he showed promise. I think the Pistons was the other team. And I think I still believe in what he could be, but I do remember that he's not the best defender, and being 7 feet tall and out there, you should be the backup center, but really he's like a backup power forward for us. So if you have Rui and Vando still, I think Christian Wood would still only play spot minutes. I don't think he would be as big part of the rotation as people would expect, especially with getting DFS who also can play the 4. So I don't expect the craziest comeback for Christian Wood, but it would be nice to take a look at him with the talent that we saw that he had on his other teams.
Man, Christian Wood is really toxic, man. Nah, man. Yeah, I think the thing with Christian Wood, like looking at it from both perspectives, it's just hard. Like one part of me is like, dang, I feel bad. It's like every time he's like, okay, I'm really close to coming back. Like I want to play for my team. This is my hometown team. Like who doesn't want to play for the hometown team? Like I'm not going out here saying Christian Wood doesn't want to be on the floor. I don't think that's the case at all. But his injuries, man, it's just been unfortunate with timing. Like every time, I think you just should stop tweeting. I think the tweets are done. It's cooked. Like just focus on rehab. Even I'm not saying you can't tweet. Just don't tweet anything about you coming back. Like you can tweet about your favorite movies, shows, books, but anything about being on the court playing Lakers basketball, just keep it in house. Just let our guys Jovan and all those guys tweet. Oh, Jared Vanderbilt or sorry Christian Wood could be back this week or getting sent down to G. Like just let those guys take care of that business, and you just focus on being yourself and having a good time. So for me, shout out to Christian Wood. It is kind of crazy that every tweet, it's not D-Lo level. Because D-Lo was doing some craziness. D-Lo had us all join a random Discord at 2 a.m. after a Nuggets packed up session saying, don't worry, Lakers fans, I got you guys. Put the team on my back. I got y'all. Goes out there, drops 0. Like, that's just a whole different level. Christian Wood just did. He just having, I think it's just bad timing. It's just the worst case of bad timing I've ever seen. But he's one of the, like we talked about at the beginning of the season. My 2 people I wanted to see in this new JJ Redick system was Austin Reeves. Well, 3. I'm sorry. Austin Reeves, Max Christie, and C. Wood. I talked about at the end of last season. Christian Wood, I know people complain about his numbers going down, but in that Darvingham system, he was not even taking the same amount of threes. I think he was the year before he was shooting like 4.5, shooting closer to 38%. But when he played with us, he was only shooting like 2, shooting like barely 30%. So I think under JJ Redick, he would have had more intentional plays ran for him, and he would have had a better chance to boost up those numbers. So he's still a guy I think can help this team, believe it or not. I mean, our bigs right now, if I can have Christian Wood back in my rotation and never have to see Jackson Hayes play for this team ever again, I'll be the happiest Laker fan in the world. So I'm rooting for his recovery. I think the tweets are absolutely hilarious. Not that he's hurt, but just his timing. Hopefully next time we see him tweet is in the off season, tweeting about our championship run.
Yeah, and before we do the tier list, I think it is fair to mention, I don't think it really means anything, but Walker Kessler missed 6 games with a hip injury earlier this season. Besides that, he's never ever been held out for rest, but Walker Kessler was ruled out for the reason of rest for today's Utah game. So a lot of people are thinking they could be in talks. Apparently, Boston is an option for Kessler. But yeah, we'll see if the Lakers can figure out something. I still personally think it would come around February 6th regardless, so I don't think it means anything, but Walker Kessler was ruled out today for rest. And I think we should do the tier list because I know Earl's got a big dinner tonight. Family dinner.
Hold up. Got add DFS and shake, but he's from our list right here is A, B, C, D, injured, and South Bay Lakers. We could add another tier if so / needed. I removed S because, like I said, we're off a 2-game losing streak and it wasn't that great. So, at least for you guys, I add DFS and shake. Who will be the first name?
Wait, where'd it go? I lost it, Alan. I don't see it anymore.
He said he's adding
Oh
DFS
yeah,
and
add
shake.
DFS and shake. Okay. I'll have to check Austin Reeves' stats because he was coming off of back-to-back weeks on S for us. I wouldn't put him on S now. I know we don't even have S.
He had 21 and 10 versus the Rockets.
Okay, so he was good against the Rockets. He really wasn't that good against the Mavs. He did have 15. I'm going to say, though, because he's still on a good run overall, I would put Austin Reeves at A, which would be like demoted 1 tier from S. I'm going to go with Austin Reeves at A.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. I don't have any arguments there. I think for him to like totally fall off to B, it will literally have to be like single digits or like a really inefficient like 10 to 15 point range with no assists, no rebound, anything like that. So I agree. I think A is where we're going to see Austin Reeves floor for a long time, hopefully. Continue on this season. So yeah, I agree with you. What about you, Alan?
Yeah, I'm on the same tier. Austin Reeves is one of the key points of our offense. Without him, there isn't really an offense besides A, LeBron, and etc. So yeah, A is for Austin.
All right, bet. I guess I'll hop in there next. I'm gonna go ahead and put my boy. I think it's fair to put Cam Reddish in injured because he only played 4 minutes the first game and then he didn't play versus the Mavericks. So I think that's a fair one to put him. I won't count that as a turn though, but I think that's probably the best place to put him. In my person, I'm gonna go ahead and get Jackson Hayes. Let's get that dude out the way. I'm putting him on super below F tier, even though it's not on here. No, he's playing. I'm putting on. I mean, the only place I can put him is D in this tier. I just think him being out there does nothing for me.
New tier alert: Jackson Hayes tier.
Like, how do you?
I'm putting Jackson Hayes and Jackson Hayes tier below South Bay Lakers.
Yeah, it's got to be something worse. I know. I appreciate the tier, but I can't even put him in D. Like, D shows like you tried. Like, he in 12 minutes he had 1 point, 1 assist, and 3 rebounds in 12 minutes, and then the game before that, 2 points, 1 assist, 2 rebounds. Like, bro, come on. Absolutely
Jackson Hayes tier is like we're better off not giving you minutes than giving you minutes.
Exactly. Like, and I try to be as nice as I can on the show, but I really don't. There's nothing I can say positive about that.
Yeah.
Sorry. But that's my person.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
I think I'll start off hot in this one, and we're going to start with Anthony Davis. Now, there is an argument for an A. He had 30 points, 13 rebounds, 5 blocks versus Houston, and then versus the Mavericks, he had 21, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. But I don't know. I feel like I don't think y'all agree with this, but like the stats don't tell the entire story of how Anthony Davis played. Like, we have complained that Anthony Davis is not playing physically strong. He's not battling these other centers. like I said, Şengün and etc. And it's like he did score 30, but it's not a great 30. It's like a 30 where, of course, he's a great scorer. He does get in the paint, that does what he does, but he's just he's not at the level he should be playing at. Like I said, he should be S tier. He should be automatically A tier, but I don't know. I feel like he's sort of like B, maybe like B plus, maybe A minus. He's out in the area just because, like I said, he's important to the offense, but still, it's like we expect better.
I would say B plus, and like frankly, it's another year where I'm very disappointed in AD. He's very hard to rate. I mean, if you really, we watch all the games on this channel, and I've always watched all the Lakers games for years. I just think in 2020, it's like you know what you're going to get every time, and we're not at that AD anymore. I feel like we're at an AD that can have stretches where he looks like a top 5 player in the world, certainly like to start the year. But with how good he is, how talented he is, and how big of a part of this he is, I'm really disappointed. Like, I don't feel like he's helped us win games. And I feel like him not being his actual self he could be has actually cost us games. I would even be tempted to put him below B, but because it's a Lakers tier list and he's one of the most important, or maybe the most important piece, I think B is fine for this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be kind of like the middleman. I think personally, Anthony Davis. Look, Rockets game, I feel like it went wrong on all parts. Like I think everybody kind of contributed to that. But overall, if we do win that game, I think he played pretty decent. I mean, not decent. I think he played good. But I agree with you guys too. I think the thing about us, you can look at the stats and see the numbers look good, but for Anthony Davis is like for what we need for Anthony Davis is not 100% of what he's given. Like we'll see him miss like the layup thing. He missed like 4 layups. That's 6 points. We win. We win the game. That's 6 points. Like, and we're not talking about super contested. We're talking about like right under the rim, easy blow by, boom, at the rim, misses it like 4 times. Like that was what was happening versus the Rockets. So, with that being said, I know the stats look nice. I mean, 30 points, 5 blocks is insane. 2 assists, 13 rebounds. That's cool, but we lost. And like Jake said, it's about being an impactful player. How can your performance help us win the game? When it came down to winning the game, it just didn't happen for Anthony Davis, and that's tough. And then you can go to the and then that game too, like in a game where look, this is where I gotta get like in a game where AD had 13 rebounds, right? He played 36 minutes. You know who had 9 rebounds in 16 minutes?
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams. Like, not saying obviously AD wasn't on the court all the times when Steven Adams was there, but when you put it into perspective like that, I mean, I would like to see a little bit more aggression on the board for Anthony Davis. It's not that he can't, it's about his aggressiveness on that end too. So, yeah, in the Mavericks game, I mean, we should not have lost that game 97-118. I mean, I could care less if you score 2-1 points versus the Mavericks and we lose. So, I think B's fair for me.
I just think also, like, if you're a superstar, I'm starting to agree more with Caden in the chat where he said C. Not to be negative. I mean, we could still go B. I know he won't end the stream. But this Mavericks game where we lose badly, no Luka, no Kyrie, no Gafford. So the only person who can guard you kind of is Lively, even he's in his second year. How the fuck are you only putting up 21 points and you're AD? Now, if Dalton puts up 21 points, it's like great, but we're evaluating AD compared to AD too. I always say that when we do this. How are you 7 of 18 field goal against the Mavericks? Like 2 below 50%. Even 50% would have been too low in that game. And then like 12 rebounds is cool till you realize he should have like 20 rebounds in that kind of matchup.
Yep.
Especially like you said, Steven Adams barely played minutes, and he's old. Like Steven Adams is older than AD, I think, pretty easily. And he's better at rebounding than AD, who's our only decent big on this team. I mean, 35 minutes, 21 points. I mean, it's just at some point it's kind of like he's bullshitting us. And I feel like he's let fans down. Frankly, I feel like really let down, and I feel like he's let fans down more than people say. Like, I would almost put a Dallas loss on AD, because if you were a true superstar and you played like it, we just wouldn't have lost the game, and you probably would have had like 40 points. And it's not all about the stats, but the eye test, we keep saying that looks really bad for him recently. He doesn't look aggressive. I think he takes a lot of games off, even that he plays. And it's just at some point, it's like, I would like to see some accountability. Dare I say, I do feel like he's a little bit like Darvin Ham with his accountability. I don't know if that's a hot take. There's been times where he's had like great interviews where he said it was all his fault. I do understand that. And Darvin didn't do that maybe. But then AD bounces back and does the same thing as that game that he was just apologizing for. Like, if he apologized for Houston, he came out and did worse against Dallas. Like, and Dallas was a way worse team without the guys they had out. So at some point, it's like, why do we not why is the accountability not on AD, who's like a 31-year-old or whatever it is, superstar who should be in his prime, and he's just not? And I know there's been a lot of injuries that factored into maybe his prime ending sooner, but bro, I feel like he just low-key like lets us down a lot. And I thought last year was a pretty good year. He had 76 games played. He was healthy. But like this year, he's let us down so much after the hot start. And it's like, if we're being honest, AD compared to like prime AD, which is probably like, closer to the end of the Pelicans AD, he's like a D tier AD recently. So I don't know how you evaluate that when you compare that to the whole Lakers team. Like, B is fine, but he's like a D tier AD right now. And that's just kind of sad to see. And I wish, if I have always said this, but AD with LeBron's mentality is probably the best player of all time, undisputed. But he's so far off of that, of LeBron's mentality, and he'll never be able to get there. So it's kind of sad, but that, I'm bottom of B, I'm good with. We could settle on that, I guess. You can make an argument for C as well.
Yeah.
And then I'll go Dalton Connect. He's another guy who's like really hard to evaluate. I understand he hasn't always been perfect. He is a rookie. We should show him more grace for being a rookie, in my opinion. But the truth is, it's really between like C if you're positive or D. Because if, again, like he had games earlier on that looked vastly different than how he's been playing recently. Like against Houston, he had 0 points in 17 minutes, 0 of 3. Barely any shots, to be fair. And then Dallas, he was 5 for 8 with 13 points, which I feel like that's pretty solid. Like, that's what you ask him for. I would lean like lower part of C because he's a rookie, but I would understand if you guys wanted to put him in D.
I think I'm in like let me double check again. Let me see. Well, 13, 2 for 5 from 3.
I would say top of D. I think that although he did score 13 versus Dallas, I don't really remember that. I don't remember him being that impactful versus that in that Dallas game. Like that 13 wasn't like, oh, Dalton scored 13 points. The Lakers did this and that. It's like he scored 13. That's it.
I'm gonna say D for Dalton Connect. Yeah, I'm probably gonna put him in D tier respectfully. But next name, I'll go ahead and hit it up. I'm gonna say, give me Rui Hachimura. Mr. Rui, looking at your stats, I think that you probably have to be, man, this is, I have to go C or D if I'm being completely honest. My big thing about Rui is if he's not having like mid 15 plus games on good efficiency it's hard to rate him any higher because he just doesn't play any defense. We rate him for defense. I mean, we rate him for offense, and the only way he really moves up in tiers if he has like a good defensive game, or maybe he just happens to have a double or two that week. That's the only way where he really moves up on these type of tier lists. But if he's not even hitting double digits and we're losing those games and he's starting, it's hard for me to move him anything above a C, really D plus range for me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and like against the Mavs, he played 26 minutes as a starter, which was less than DFS by 2, kind of for the first time, I think. But he had 6 points. And like I can see that, Najee Marshall may be a good defender. PJ Washington has his moments, to be fair, but like why are you letting us down so much if you're starting and we're playing a depleted Mavs team and you're dropping 6 points and you already don't give defense, so we needed 15 out of you. It just doesn't. He's kind of D for me, the top of D, probably above Connect, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I think here, if we were to put him in C, I think he'd be either bottom of C or at least middle of the C, depending on that category. But I think top of D. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
Next one, I'm going with Max Christie for this one. He did pretty good as a starter versus Houston. He got 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 5 from 3. Versus Dallas, 12 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists. I think he's at a C because compared to one of our guys, other guys we'll talk about later, I think the other guy did better than Max Christie per se.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cool with C. I think C for Christie fits perfect this week. We've seen him have weeks where he's had 16 plus and 28 in a week, so definitely have to hold that standard tight. So I'm cool with C.
Yeah. I do think, though, like Max has really become a solid B kind of player for this team, but in a down week where it's like kind of hard to rank, like I could agree with you guys. I'll do Dorian Finney-Smith. I think B is super fair because he does exactly what we want out of him. He's never going to be like a huge stats guy, but he had 13 and 11, which is more consistent than almost everyone on the list. And that's minimal shots, 5 of 9 and 3 for 4. And then he seems to get timely rebounds. And then obviously like really great defense, does the little things, actually hustles and tries. I think B is fair. You could say below AD if you're talking like he's a worse player than AD, I would understand. But in a way, he was kind of better than AD for us in his role this week. So I'm going to say B for DFS. I expect his role to continue to increase. And I even see him taking more shots than he has been. I could see him taking like 10 shots a game coming up, getting used to this offense.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I agree. I think DFS, he's more like we grade him more on defense, but we talked about like similar with Cam Reddish, like in weeks where Cam Reddish is hitting double figures, he's almost always going to be a B or higher because he's more of a guy we look at not necessarily stat wise, but just feel wise. Like if you watch him play, you know he's impacting the game, and helping us win. Even though we didn't win this week, he did his job. I feel like so. Shout out to him.
I think we'll go with a quick one. Shake Milton. I know. At least Earl said injured for, for Cam Reddish, but no. I feel like Shake should be a D, bottom of D. He only played 5 minutes versus, I believe, Houston, and he played a DNP versus Dallas. So
yeah, I mean, I think
Jackson Hayes.
D is fair, but I don't think that Shake has really done anything wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It just kind of is what it is.
JJ Redick.
Brian, and JJ.
Coach JJ Redick.
Who we giving JJ? JJ, team grade.
Yeah.
Everybody say at the same time. 1, 2, 3.
C. Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, Earl, you vote in the middle of C and D.
D. We lost both games.
That's fair. Let's do that.
And
then.
some of those. And then that was a game where we playing Christian Wood instead of Coloco. So yeah, D.
Or Jackson. You mean Jackson? Okay.
I mean, yeah, my fault. Yeah, Jackson Hayes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Brown.
LeBron James.
Mr. King, Mr. James, the King of LA. That's his name. I cannot rate him lower than a B today. So that means Mr. LeBron James will finish with an A. And there's my poem for the night. I think he played good. I just think other guys didn't step up and do enough to help contribute. Like versus Houston, he was lights out from three. He had 4 for 7, shooting 57% from 3, 21 points, at 13 rebounds, 9 assists. Nearly a triple double. And then versus Dallas, he tried to keep us in the game. He had 18, 10, and 8, almost back-to-back triple doubles by those metrics. So yeah, I think he's LeBron. Like, he did what he's supposed to do out there. I'm not mad at it. So yeah, in a week he came off of an S. Because he came off of an S. His numbers went slightly down, so I'm cool with bump him down to A.
I just feel like even with worse stats than AD, he plays way better and does what he's supposed to do more. He had 2 almost triple doubles. I would put him ahead of Reeves also, just because if you look at the last 2 games, obviously LeBron's ahead of Reeves. So I'd have LeBron at the top of the list for this week, but it definitely was a more depressing week with 2 games canceled or postponed, and then the 2 games that we did play were pretty depressing. Houston was all right, but Dallas was bad.
Yeah, I feel like Houston, I don't want to say I was okay with losing, but it was like one of those games where they just played harder. Like, Jalen Green was making, like, it's not like his shots were open. Like, he was taking contested shots and making tough buckets. Mavericks, there was no excuse for Mavericks. So
if Jalen Green didn't do what he did, we would have won the Houston game anyways, which is interesting.
And he did the same thing the next night too, so I wasn't too mad about it. So.
Yeah, it's not, before people say like a Laker bias, like Jalen Green is certainly inconsistent, but he can go off at times. But yeah, that's the tier list.
Nice.
Hopefully next one's a lot more positive with I'm trying to now think of the games. I think it's Spurs and then Heat. I'll check that. In the next week, Spurs, Heat, Nets, and then on Sunday, right after we do this stream, Lakers, Clippers. It's an away game. I guess it's our first time to watch the Lakers play at the Intuit Dome.
Going to our new arena?
Yeah,
our away arena?
Yeah. It's a legit away game for the first time in Lakers history, I think.
Crazy.
The Clippers have been in LA, or did they have I don't know if they had another place.
Like San Diego, like the San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego, but I was thinking more like LA. I think it may be the first time in history in LA. But yeah. Hopefully that one's more positive. 3 more games until the next show.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, like I said, this is the end for the Clutch Create Team podcast for this week. I said normally we hire a move, we bring that energy. Like I said, today the Lakers have been losing. The energy is down low, but when the Lakers start winning, and like I said, with all the situation going on, like I said, we offer our prayers and we offer our support and everything around all our friends and who are LA, and also everybody else who were affected by those fires. Like I said, give them your support and anything that you could to help resources and relief. So, and as always, that's Quest for 18 podcast. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, it's Go Lakers. Peace, everybody.
Yep. Thanks.
Peace out.